Hello, cats and kittens. Odewa Jose, Yoroshiku, and we're back in the creative corner for creator commentary. Another creator commentary. This time we're working on Intrepid issue 4, or chapter 4, as I like to say, which is entitled La Pistola Y El Corazon. First, let's start with the cover. Dynamite work by Montos on the cover. This is Nadia in the desert. The great battle to save Nadia takes place in the desert. And there's a beautiful image of her having just actually finished off a buzzard. We'll get into that later. On this whole chapter was a calm before the storm chapter. Currently, she's in the desert, just wanting, I ain't gonna say wanting to be left alone, but she is alone. And therefore has no reason to fight anybody except for that poor buzzard that happened to cross her path and pay the price for it, you know. Besides from that, just the cover, I'd like to say, is outstanding. Montos did a fantastic job. So there's that. Going further, a little rundown, calm before the storm. Joseph Paxton's quest to save his last known surviving teammate, Lieutenant Nadia Chavez, has reached a critical juncture. Being the victim of barbarous experiments conducted by the store, Lieutenant Chavez has been transformed into an unstoppable killing machine, laying waste to anything crossing her path. As the Mexican government amasses forces necessary to end Lieutenant Chavez's rampage, Paxton takes counsel with his newfound, though somewhat reluctant allies, as to determine his final course of action. Meanwhile, in the United States, the ramifications of the incident at Area 49, along with the mass killing in Mexico, has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power. What reaction will these events prompt from the White House? And more importantly, for Joseph Paxton, is a final attempt to save his friend's life possible? I like this chapter because it builds the stakes. A big battle is nothing without stakes, and start off in DC, where you get the official view of things. Chavez is supposed to have been dead a year ago, so how is she loose, running amok in Mexico, causing havoc? This goes all the way up to the president, and also the director of the PPA, the Paranormal Protection Agency. All of this is just world building and expanding the scope of the story. You got the president, director of the PPA, Mark Benjamin, the assistant director. Is he assistant or is he assistant director? So we're just putting names in here so that will make a difference later on. And they're chopping it up about why is this woman loose doing such and such? This is a conspiracy that's being played out in another country. So the president basically tells Mark Benjamin somebody has to be on hand to go down there and take care of this and find out what's really going on, because this is like a huge conspiracy. People who are supposed to be dead are alive, kind of like a Capricorn 1 type situation. Go down there and find out what's going on. So he's given his marching orders. Benjamin is sent to go find out what's going on. He says, "Agreed, Mr. Benjamin. I want someone on point in Mexico investigating this fiasco within 24 hours. Get those answers, people. Now, marching orders. I like that kind of stuff." Which brings us back to the crew. This is the first official meeting of all 4 members of what will be the 4 main members of the Intrepid crew: Joseph Paxton, Keith Dawson, Annabella, and Vince Escusado. Now, oddly enough, when we're first introduced with when Vincent and Annabella first come into the scene, she had on her jester's hat, which I had plans for, which kind of fell apart. She's still holding it, but you only see it over here. She wasn't wearing it for no reason, but I got kind of constrained on time, and I couldn't play it up as much as I wanted to. So that's going to be settled a little bit down the road. But it's just now it just comes off as odd. So I kind of regret that, but whatever. But the Jester's hat was on for a reason. Anyway, so then here you get to play with some dialogue and some banter among the crew. Again, this is their first meeting, and I like the fact that they kind of have not necessarily a rapport, but you can feel the chemistry among the four of them. Paxton's all business. He's clearly the leader of this outfit. Vincent is the outsider. By the end of this issue, in no uncertain terms, he wants no part of this. He doesn't want his daughter involved in this. But as we can see, he and Keith have a history, to the point where Keith called in a favor. Vincent felt obligated to come and render aid. The aid that was needed was his daughter. She had to come because we saw at the end of the last issue, Paxton had passed out. He had some kind of a seizure. Between that issue and this, she took care of that, the seizure part, and did some other little repairs or whatever and helped out. Now we're finding out the scope of her involvement in all of this, and the fact that her inventions are being used by this dark cabal of underground, the sinister cabal that we've already seen established. They have been using her inventions, unbeknownst to her, for villainous, purposes. Okay, so now we see how everybody is involved. Paxton's involved because he's in the middle of this. Keith is involved because he made himself involved by helping Paxton because he has a good heart, basically. And Bella's involving herself because one of her inventions has been used for a dark purpose. And the rest of this is just banter between them. And I think it comes off pretty well for people that have never met before. You see that there's clearly a nice little chemistry between them. And so, it's dialogue heavy, but I think the dialogue is not only necessary, but I think it comes off well because it establishes personalities, at least in this particular situation. And I'm also cool with the fact that Paxton still has the nappy fro and the scraggly beard up until this point, because this is a pattern, the first arc after 24, with Kiefer Sutherland, where you have a ticking clock and you're getting a progressive, scene by scene, kind of real time type situation. So you get the feeling that time is elapsing in a set. It's in motion. It's in, Anyway, it's creative commentary. I'm freestyling here, so. But you get a feel for time. You're on the clock, so people don't have time to get cleaned up and whatever. Things are happening as they happen. Anyway, so we get, like I say, mainly this is dialogue, and I would encourage you to read it because I put a lot of work into it, and it was really good. And again, the art is excellent, especially in regard to the fact that there's no action. You know what I mean? So I really put my toes to it. I made him had to work, and he maintained the feel of this bunker that they're in. It's a junky bunker with, you know, just stuff, old equipment and stuff like that. So the art, I was very happy with the art. I put it like that. And this page I thought was really good because, again, it establishes the chemistry between the characters, and that Bella's making the argument that, people are using my inventions to hurt people, and I want to help Paxton. After Vincent tells her, "Look, let's get out of here. You did what you were asked to do. Let's leave. This doesn't really concern you." And she says, "I want to help this guy." And then there's just the sight gag where Vincent just stares at Keith, basically saying, I'm going to kill you, you know what I'm saying, but dragging her into this. Bella doesn't get it. She's kind of like, huh? And Keith is just like, dude, it is what it is, but it's not a lot of dialogue. It's just looks and gestures. I like that. I like how they play out. So then again, and another thing I like is that we also established that Paxton and Bella are basically the leads in this crew. Paxton, he's the leader, and Bella is basically his, I wouldn't even say lieutenant. She is his, if he was thinking in terms of Star Trek, she would be Spock. He'd be Spock or Scotty, one of the two. Somebody that he relies on to get technical things done and to get a better grasp or understanding of the situation. So in the end, it's agreed. Vincent relents and says, all right, you help him, but only to the point where you help him get the technical aspects done, and then this far, no further. And it seems to be that that's going to be the situation. She's going to help him on the technical side, and then they'll both, Vincent and her and Bella, will bounce. And Keith and Paxton will have to handle everything after that. That's what seems to be the case by the time we end the scene. Then we transition. So we go to White House, we go to the bunker. Now we go to where is Nadia, because I like the transition. After they settle everything in, Paxton says, Nadia, he's thinking, Nadia, where are you? Transition to Nadia. She's in the desert. Like I said, she apparently mauled a buzzard or something, or she killed something that the buzzards are now eating. Again, brilliant artwork from Montos. The black and white is just awesome. And she's just sitting there. Because the fact of the matter is, if no one attacks her, she's not going to do anything rash. She's basically co-opted by a sentient killing machine that it reacts more than it attacks. If you attack her, she'll attack you. But if you don't, she basically just stands down. Essentially, that's where so she's sitting in the desert. Transition again to the Mexican government. So again, more world building. We're establishing that obviously the Mexican government exists, but the Department of Defense, the Minister of Defense, Cacama, is monitoring the situation and making plans to stop her, because this is essentially their problem. United States is trying to find out what's going on, but the meat of this and the pressing need to stop her is on the Mexican government, because it's happening on their land. So we make plans. What plans? We finally see superheroes. In the entire series, we haven't seen any superheroes. And this is a superhero book, don't get me wrong. But we haven't seen any to this point. Finally, we established that there are heroes. There are no heroes in the United States currently, but there are some in Mexico. And Defense Minister Cacama calls on the courage and the power of the Golden Brigade. Character designs are awesome. I love it. I love the way they turned out. This is the X-Men of Mexico, basically. You got a luchador in there. You got the general, who's like a general. You got like a Wolverine type dude, some kind of vampire type chick or whatever she is, El Brujo, which speaks for itself. Yeah, a nice little motley crew. Apparently, they're fresh off of fighting El Chupacabra, and apparently, in defeating El Chupacabra, the general, who apparently is married to his lieutenant, Tika, lost their daughter. Pay attention to that. That's very important, and it plays into the conclusion of the story, the finale. Anyway, he lost his daughter, but he's saying, look, apparently they lost their daughter, and they lost some. The team was bigger before they fought El Chupacabra, so they're missing some people. Some people got took out. It's sad, but it's cost of doing business. Anyway, so they're wondering if their numbers will be enough to take on Nadia, which tells you how they regard her ability up until this point, because she's laid waste to basically the Mexican National Guard, did away with them fairly easily. So, will they be enough to take her out? Well, Kakama's like, look, you and this army, who and what army? You and this army. And again, Matos did a great job. You got foot soldiers, you got mechs, you got AT-ATs. It's sick. So again, stakes. I love high stakes battles. I love sick numbers. I love mechs. I love all of that stuff. And it's all going at the same time. This is deemed to be the proper response for taking Nadia out. Sick. Anyway. So you got your martial orders, go on and do what you got to do. Segue again. Okay, again, stakes. We're filling out the stakes. Who are all of the people involved in this before the battle starts? A mysterious stranger, and I purposefully made this person off screen, who is what's that guy's? Oh man, I don't want to give up where his actual identity is, although technically it doesn't matter. Lord Townsend. His name is Lord Townsend. Face off screen, he's stroking a cat, classic villain, like a Bond villain or whatever. So he's sitting here stroking this cat, talking to Thaddeus Payne, who you're following the story and following the other creator commentaries, you know who Thaddeus is. He is in with the sinister cabal that's doing all of this dirt anyway. Not to get into that, but anyway, Townsend is basically chewing him out for having this whole situation get out of hand. And I love the fact that Townsend speaks in the third person. He uses royal we and all of that nonsense. Again, I was making this dude a classic villain. You know what I'm saying? We this and we that and our this and so forth. And Payne gets sick of it, And I just like nobody wants to be the fall guy. And so he just basically shoots back on him. Well, we don't care what you think about this, and as long as you, help us, help me resolve this issue. He's sick of it. Then you get your classic Palpatine, response. Thaddeus, we do not appreciate the tone in your voice, as we are certain you do not appreciate ours. That's sick. I like that. He does that flip to evil Palpatine. That duality thing, you know what I'm saying? Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, Senator Palpatine. Over the phone, his dark side, if you want to call it that, is so sinister. It's giving my man nosebleeds from over the phone. The cat that he was stroking sadly dies. And to show how evil he is, he throws it into the fire. He's got no use for it anymore. Like I say, this is an evil dude. You know, I ain't pulled back on that. So he, you know, learn your place. You know, learn your place or die. You know, Townsend is a mess. So he basically tells him, look, see that you don't fail me again. I will give you assistance. So Townsend tells him, you will receive assistance. It's on the way. Never fail me again. Assistance arrives, you know, in the form of Celia. Celia, again, it's all part of the second wave initiative. Townsend, Thaddeus Payne, Celia, and the mystery person. You know, I hate to go NWO on you, but there's a mystery member. You know, if you're down with wrestling, you know, that there was a third man, or you know, there's a fourth man involved, but we don't know their identity yet. I'm not going to get caught up in that right now. The fact of the matter is, Celia is sent to help out. Now, who is Celia exactly? We'll get into that later, but she is essentially, if you think in terms of Wonder Woman, like Steve Trevor and Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, well, this is the evil version of Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman. All right, so Celia is as dark and sinister as Townsend and Payne, and she's sent to aid him. And they're obviously, you know, lovers without question. They're a twisted couple, and I'm gonna have fun with them later. But for now, all you need to know is that she's their paramours, and they go around doing sinister stuff. They are the leg men for this dark cabal that is behind the conspiracy. Not necessarily the face of it, but the leg men. They do all of the wet work, the dirty work. So that's where they're at. So they leave with the remaining members of Paxton's team, who have been turned into subordinate slaves, superpowered subordinate slaves, pretty much on close to Nadia's level, but now they've been mind wiped, so they're completely under control, whereas Nadia is not. Okay, so they disappear through a portal, which Celia seems to be able to summon at will. She's a mess. I mean, she power-wise, she's going to be a problem. She's going to be a problem for the team going down the line, but there's that. Which brings us back to finishing off the calm before the storm. Paxton, Keith, Paxton, Vincent, and Bella review the dot matrix printouts regarding everything essentially that led up to this point, which prompts Bella to say, oh, now she finally gets it, that these guys were betrayed, they were taken captives, they were worked on. These Paxton's teammates, they were turned into monsters, basically, and by forces unknown up until this point. And Nadia is the only one left that Paxton can get to. As far as he knows, she's it. And he wants to save her because, as we'll see. Anyway. So at this point, Paxton realizes that to get to her, he's going to have to go through the general's forces to save her. His thing is not necessarily that, his thing is that she's not responsible for her actions. Therefore, he doesn't want her killed. He just wants her to be apprehended peaceably so that maybe she can be cured of whatever they did to her. But definitely he just does not want her killed. But having sent, as he says, superheroes and an army after her, that's going to make things impossible to resolve, or as he looks at it, at least problematic. Paxton's view of things, most people would look at the situation and just say, screw it, it's over, there's nothing. I'm not going to say he's optimistic, but he's very, well, he's not optimistic. He doesn't think in terms of optimism. He just thinks in terms of what has to be done and what can be done. So he thinks it's doable, whereas everybody else pretty much knows that it isn't. His point is, if I get to her first and get her to stand down, they can take her into custody without killing, you know. But if he doesn't get to her first, he's convinced that it's over. It's going to be either they kill her or she kills them, one way or the other, but he doesn't see her survive. As he says, you know, they send an army, superheroes and an army after her. Keith basically says, look, she's pretty strong. Maybe they won't kill her. Paxton's response, they're going to kill her, Keith. That's what armies do. You know, you don't send an army after somebody so that they can shake hands. All the mechs and all that stuff are there for a purpose. If she offers unsuitable resistance, she'll be taken out. Now, back at the scene with the general made the point that he wanted, Minister Cockam made a point to the general, if he can bring her in alive, do so, because the conspiracy needs to be unraveled and they need her alive to do that. But if she bucks it, take out, you know, saving lives is the priority. So if she doesn't stand down, go all in and take her out. And this, as we close up, basically, Bella is trying to make the argument to Paxton. If you go in there, you're one dude. If you go in there, you're going to get killed. And at this point, she just feels for the dude and is like trying to talk sense into him. She tries to get her father to talk sense into him, but he doesn't care. Vincent couldn't care less. So he's like, all right, if he wants to go, go. Let's get out of here. And so basically it falls down to Keith. She wants Keith to talk him down, but Keith's response is, where we get the title from, the title of the chapter. It's an old, I got it from an old Mexican proverb that I made up, basically. And it's written in Spanish, so you had to get a translation of it. But the point is, in matters of the heart or in affairs of passion, think with your pistols and your heart. You know, it's either with either your pistols or your pistol or your heart, or with your pistol and your heart. I can't remember. It's pretty shame that I can't remember, but that's what the kid. I made the saying up, so but it's a cool saying for something that was made up. And then Keith is like, "Look, I'll go with you," cementing the fact that they're boys. You know what I'm saying? Keith and Paxton are. I can't think of somebody. I guess a good parallel would be Luffy and Zoro in One Piece, if you're a One Piece fan. People who met suddenly but kind of get each other and got each other's back. So Keith is like, well, you ruined my bar. You basically destroyed my bar and you owe me for that. So I'm going to keep you alive long enough for you to settle that debt. That's his excuse, basically. He's basically saying, look, I'm not going to let this kid go in there and get killed. I'll go with him. Bella's trying to make the argument. Nobody's listening to her. You know, she's shouting, is anybody listening to me? You know, which is classic Bella. And then we get Paxton's response, which is, this is essentially my sister. You know what I'm saying? She's closer to me than a teammate, a friend. This is my sister. I'd rather die saving her than live without having tried. And then he asked Anna, tell me, if that was your sister, what would you do? And these final two panels, I love, because you look at, as he's saying that to her, Vincent's like, I know what her response is going to be. She's soft-hearted and she's going to go with him. He peeks for a second, hoping that she's going to say no. And then she says, yes, that she'll help him. And Vincent's just like, oh, God. And that's it. That's La Pistola Y El Corazon. The next issue, next chapter, Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun, which makes no sense, but I just love the way that title came out. Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun. And that's La Pistola Y El Corazon, which is a phenomenal, to me, piece of work in terms of the art. And I love the fact that it does a great build-up to a 2-issue battle royale. But you got to set those things up in my mind. You have to set that type of thing up. So I'm very happy with the way it came out. I love this first meeting of the crew, you know, establishing them early out as not being a perfect fit to each other, but you see where they will be, whether maybe there'll be rough edges where, you know, some things are going to have to get worked out, but then there's some things that just work automatically, like I say, Keith and Paxton. But you can see how Bella is kind of the heart of the crew at this point, where she has that concern for people basically that she just met, you know. And I like it. I like the chemistry, the early chemistry in the team. So, because this is the heroes and villains span the Pandora's Cage story arc is basically set up the origin story of a super team or a team of superheroes. You know, they're not heroes yet. They're not a team yet, but they're bonding at this point. And over the 2 story arcs, by the end of the 2 story arcs, absolutely for sure, they will be Intrepid, the Intrepid. Right now, they don't even have a name. They just have a mission, and they have a mission, essentially. It's primarily Paxton's mission, but it's a mission that he's dragging them into. And by the end of these 2 story arcs, they will officially be cemented as a crew. So that's La Pistola Y El Corazon. I hope you enjoyed the creator commentary as much as I enjoyed writing it. And we'll catch you next time for another creative commentary. And until then, in the creative corner, stay loose.